So I'll just start off with kind of introducing myself. I'm Daniel Howell. I've been at ACDC for probably close to 10 years now, maybe more. I'd have to double check that. Currently, I'm acting as a development team lead and product manager. And for the last few years, I've been mostly focusing on our digital asset management side. So a lot of the manage mode features, stuff like that. Recently, I've helped build the people's mode and our new advanced search, among a lot of other things too. I kind of have my toe dipped everywhere throughout the application. And yeah, so I'm here to talk a little bit about what we did for 2024. I'm going to start off with some of the more smaller, like kind of workflowy things, and I'll end with our big ticket items. So yeah, one of the customer requests, or one thing we've definitely noticed is a huge pain point for our customers, is the upgrade workflow. As you know, or as you may have experienced, we have hundreds of options that I'm sure everyone kind of customizes in their own way, in their to make it the workflow that they want or they need. And unfortunately, we haven't been bringing those options cross between versions every year. You kind of had to go and reset up your own workspace every time, which is super annoying. I know this. I have to do this myself, as when I move to the new product while I'm doing development work. So last year we did something where we added this, which was you could manually invoke and import. But this year you'll be happy to know, as soon as you install 2024, we actually will look and grab all your options from 2023, and everything should be set up the way you had it. For the options, we don't bring across your layout or anything yet. We will definitely probably be looking at making this upgrade path more and more better as the years go on, but this was a kind of our first stab at it, and we started with the options. So hopefully that will be a nice little improvement for everyone when they finally get their hands on 2024. Another feature that we added, and this is just another little kind of quick small one, it's in people's mode. Oh, one sec, there. There was a lot of people who were asking to get more information about where the file or the face came from. So we added this feature where if you hover over a face, you'll get a thumbnail of the picture that the face came from, as well as some metadata you see on the right. And that metadata you see on the right is customizable. You can do that tools, options. You'll see here for people's mode, there's this new set of pop-up options, like how the pop-up will come up, as well as what kind of information you would want to see in that right-hand panel. So we're hoping, yeah, it's just a little small one, but people were asking for more information here to use people's mode in a more asset management way. So we added this little feature quickly. Hopefully people find that valuable. I also should mention as well, this is still in development. What you see here, there could be some bugs. We're working very hard to try and get everything working really nicely for our launch in this fall. And but there is still bugs. I'm going to try and avoid them, but you may probably see some pop up. Just know that it's not a finished product yet. We're still working away at it. So another big one that customers have been kind of asking for regarding our keywords and categories is better integration with IPTC. So right now you have, you can assign keywords as ACDSee keywords, as you see here, just by clicking the box, which works really well because when you're inside the application and doing that. But as a lot of people know, a lot of times you may have to send your photos to a third-party application or something, and they won't be able to maybe read these keywords. So to do that, you usually want to put them into IPTC, which is like a universal standard. So lots of different applications can read IPTC. So you can move your images between, like, some websites will read that as you upload them, or like a third-party editing app or something like that. So we tried to make the ability to make ACDSee keywords IPTC keywords a lot easier by adding a few new commands in our metadata flyout here. We added embed keywords to IPTC, embed categories to IPTC, and then we also add the ability to bring them back from IPTC, so you can add them to your ACDSee keywords. So if I go ahead here and I go embed keywords to IPTC, you can go on the metadata tab here and you will see that they are now embedded as IPTC keywords. One thing to keep in mind as well with IPTC, the standard does not have hierarchy in IPTC. So when you do embed your ACDSee keywords, they come in as a kind of a flat list. So you see here, instead of you get animal bird is in a hierarchy in ACDSee, but in IPTC, you'll see that it comes across as animal and then bird as two separate words. But that's adhered to the standard. So that's how it happens. And then you can also do things like, you see this image here, it has forest, spring, urban. I can right click it, metadata, and I can import the IPTC keywords. And you'll notice here, you'll see that they're now assigned. And if they weren't a part of your keyword list to begin with, they get added to your keyword list as well. So we hope this makes it a lot easier for people to work with ACDSee metadata, and when the time comes to make that ACDSee metadata IPTC or some kind of like universal standard for people to move their images between applications and other workflows that they need. So you can do that using these menus here. There's in the flyout or from the drop down up here. But we also added the ability to do it through catalog files. So now when you do your catalog files, you'll see that there is additional operations here. So as you catalog your files, you can bring that information in to your database. So that's a workflow improvement that we hope helps a lot of people and speeds up some of the things that they do. Another thing that we did is while we were kind of doing the import to IPTC and stuff, we realized that our workflow for embedding ACDSee metadata could use some improvements. In the past, there was a lot of clicking, a lot of prompts and questions when you're trying to embed your metadata. So I'll bring up 2023. So in 2023, when you go to embed ACDSee metadata, you'd always get these same options every time, and you'd always have to kind of click through and embed and then get the summary and close it, which seemed a little cumbersome, especially if you know embedding ACDSee metadata is a part of your workflow and you kind of have things set up the way you want it. So we kind of streamlined that a little bit. So when you go to embed ACDSee metadata, you'll notice the dialogue is a lot more compact. We kind of just said the few things you need. Do you want to do ACDSee metadata? Do you want to do the face data? And we moved kind of more of those bigger options into kind of a more advanced, so you can still do all the fine tuning and set all your embedding stuff and then embed it. But the big thing I find, because embedding metadata is like a big part of my workflow, I like my data with the file, so that if I move it to a remote drive or to my laptop or something like that, ACDSee can just pick up that data right away if it's embedded in the file. I don't have to try and reset it, or like, it's basically a way to keep your work tightly coupled to the file itself. So it's my personal workflow that I use. Not everyone likes to embed their metadata, but that's how I use it. So with doing this, you can also now do not ask again. So you set your settings once, you embed, and you can also do not show the pop-up again, the summary, or you can have that one show up. So now the next time I go to do embed my metadata, I just go right click, embed ACDSee metadata, does a progress bar, all done. And this works particularly well in conjunction with this option right here, which you can automatically embed your metadata on shutdown, or you can have reminders that get displayed. You can have a set duration reminders. The issue I found when I was doing this in previous versions, especially embed metadata on shutdown, which is an option I use, every time I shut down the application, I'd have to click through those confirms, summaries, and progresses. Now, if I turn those off and I turn this on, As soon as I close, you'll see the progress bar, boop, 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 and then it closes. So you don't have to kind of sit there and wait. You can kind of walk away and it'll still kind of shut down your application. And, you know, all your work that you just did in that session is now tied into your files, so it's not going to go anywhere in case something like a database corruption happens or something like that. Yeah, so that's another little small workflow improvement for, especially for the people that use the embed metadata. Hopefully some people find that useful. We've had a few customer requests to kind of make that a little nicer, so I'm really hoping we satisfied those people. Another real big one is you'll see in categories, keywords, we have this new bar right here. It is the ability to finally search your keywords. So people who have really large sets and are constantly trying to navigate them and find specific words, you now will have the ability to just search them. So HU, I'm using the option contains. So Hummingbird contains the words HU, the letters HU, and we can now definitely make people who have large keyword sets that a little more easier to work with. Also to note, when we were getting this filtering working, we did realize that we had some really bad performance issues in regards to very large keyword sets. And thankfully, we have them all resolved. And I think large keyword sets and large category sets will perform a lot better in 2024, like 100 times better. I think we had at some point, like when you had a very, very, very large, like 100,000 keywords, super nested, and you tried to expand them all, it could take a few seconds to expand them all. And now we got it down to way less than a second to work with. So we thought that was a really good one. And yeah, it just feels a lot better to work with. So when you're filtering your keywords, yeah, like I said, you can do two different ways to search them. You can do starts with, so you can do like H and you'll get everything. So hiking, hummingbird, that's why you get the whole nest there. You can clear it. And it kind of, yeah, thought it was really great. Same thing you can do with categories here. So we added that feature to both those spots. Yeah, anything else to say about that? No, I think that's it. So I'm going to move on to the last big feature we have for management this year, and it's a really, really cool one in my opinion. It is AI keywords. So what this is, its technical name is called image classification. It is in the machine learning AI realm. We basically built the technology and trained it on millions of images on a set of words that we kind of figured out. And it has the ability to look at the image and kind of detect what's in the image and set up to 800 different, I think around right now, we have about 800 different words that it can choose from to apply to that image. That list is still kind of in development. We are adding and removing and kind of fine tuning that list depending on how well these individual words are performing and how useful we think they're going to be to the users. So as you can see here, I have this one folder with all these samples. And when you click on an image, you'll see right here on the right-hand side, a list of possible words that this image can be, has detected. So you'll see here, there's a chicken in here as animal, bird, chicken, as a building chicken coop. So it kind of knows that there's a chicken coop. It detects that there's a fence, so you can apply the word fence. So this is an assistant tool. It's not going to get everything, but we're hoping that it will really improve your ability to keyword your images and also just to kind of search and discover your database without having to spend the time to apply all these things. So you can see here, this one has knife, kitchen utensil, kitchen. We got like animal, mammal, bear, cat, lion. This one will have horse, nature, landscape. It sees the mountains in the background. We got penguin, turtle, tortoise, it seems to get a little confused with that. It seems like I said, it's not perfect. It makes its best guess based on what it knows. So once we have our images scanned and have our AI keywords with it, now we can kind of use a lot of our features that already exist in manage mode to kind of pull up and search. So we have things like the catalog pane here. So if I quickly want to find all my AI keywords that have the word bird associated with it, I can just turn it on. And look, we got a bunch of photos with birds, a couple mistakes, but if you see a mistake, you can also interact with that on here. So like this does not have a bird in it. So I'm just going to kind of clean that up, and I'm going to remove the word bird. So now that should not show up when I search again. And you see no more, that mistake is now kind of corrected. So it kind of gets you kind of 90% of the way there and lets you work with that. If you want, there's a lot of other ways that we can work with AI keywords. So AI keywords is kind of its own set, but if you want to assign them as your actual keywords, there's a workflow for that. So let's say I want to now have this as a regular keyword. I just hit the plus sign here, and you'll see here it assigned the word chicken to that as a regular keyword. You don't need to do that. Some people may want their AI keywords to become regular keywords. Some people may just want their AI keywords to just stay as a separate entity, AI keywords, and just search it that way. You do not have to make them regular keywords, but we gave the option for people to do that if they so desired. You can also we also added the ability, because we were thinking a lot about IPTC this year. We made sure that any AI keywords that you have detected in that image can then be embedded into AI keywords as IPTC. So you can take your AI keywords and make them IPTC as well. So as you see here, metadata, you see all of the AI keywords have now become IPTC. So we added that little feature as well. So just like normal keywords, you can also search and query and search this to kind of see what, to find specific words that are assigned to that specific image. It works with multi-selection. So when you multi-select, it will be the union of all the AI keywords. So you'll see, so if this one has bird and this one has chicken coop, when you select the two of them, you'll see the complete set that both of these have. Yeah, so you can search it with catalog. You can find things with the catalog pane. You can also find your stuff using a new advanced search criteria. So we add here, go to ACDSee metadata, AI keywords. So now we have this as a search criteria. And then we can now pick from the ones that are in our database. So let's see what we get for fish. So start, oh, we got a nice little fish there. So this is all done automatically. As you navigate to folders in your on your machine, we know that we go here. These photos weren't previously in my database, and now they are. So you'll see now in the bottom right-hand corner, it's starting to scan those new images, and those are now getting us AI keywords, and it's done already. Takes probably around 1 second per image we're finding, depending on the quality of your machine. So you'll see these ones are all done, but if I go to a new folder, you'll see add in these ones, 8 new images, but as I select, these ones are already scanned. It's just going so fast sometimes. I was trying to show you guys it's scanning, but there's a few more remaining. You can also just stop it if you don't want it. If it's a feature that you're not really interested in and you find that it's taking up a lot of your processing time while you just want to kind of navigate your photos, you can easily just turn it off right here, and then it'll no longer do that. But for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to keep that going because I'm really excited about this feature. We worked very hard to get this done in a year, and we're pretty happy with the results. Actually, it's been really fun to play with and test and develop for. what else is there to say about AI keywords? That's yeah. So on top of that, AI keywords will also work with the indexer. So anyone who uses our indexer, what it is, the indexer is it's a background process. So when your computer idles or you kind of yeah, when it idles, when it notices you're not doing any other work on your computer, the indexer will kind of spin up in the background. And any folders that you ask it to monitor or watch, it'll start looking at those folders. And we added the ability for AI keywords to be run with that indexer. So if you don't get everything scanned in your first session, you go have a coffee or something, come back. As long as you have this on, you should see all your AI keywords done and ready to go. Yeah, so a lot of ways to work with it. A lot of ways to make sure it effortlessly gets into your database. A lot of ways after that to navigate with them and kind of look for cool things. Europeans may be upset. We're using the word soccer right now. We haven't decided yet on whether we're going to use soccer or football. Maybe we'll translate it. Who knows? Still in development. Like I said, this isn't the final list of words as well. We're still fine tuning it and trying to squeeze every ounce of quality out of it that we can. Yeah, so that's the big feature. That's basically a lot of everything that we've done for Manage Mode this year. So I am going to take a quick look and answer maybe 1 or 2 questions, and then I will be handing it off to Tony to do his portion of the demo. Okay. 1 second. Okay, I'm trying to read a couple questions here. There's just a lot of text. Yeah, so a lot of people are asking what's the route to request features from us. We do actively look at the public forum a lot, and we get a lot of, and we are putting a lot of those items that we read about, especially ones that get a lot of traction. We have something called our backlog. We definitely put it in there, and then we kind of rate it against how much effort and time we have and how big of an impact it will have. And so you can do customer forum or request a customer care. And I'll tell you, I read these things too. Like they come to the developers and we talk about them and talk about the technical challenges and how big of an impact it'll have on our community. And we really try and prioritize at least a good chunk of customer requests over new features. And we try and balance that. What is with existing photos when they're embedded already as ACDSee keywords? Any bulk job available to move them to IPTC? If you want to move a lot of ACDSee keywords to IPTC, I would just select all the images that you want, and you can write, there is tools, metadata, so you can do embed in selected files, and turn the options on for that. 1 sec, I didn't have the prompt going. But basically, yeah, you can set in there in your embed to also embed, 1 sec, embed and selected. Oh, no information, 1 sec, I gotta, tools, metadata. You can see you can embed categories and embed keywords into IPTC. So if I do and I select all my images, I can do it that way. Or you can also just select all your images and just actually just use this quick command instead of going through and just do it directly. So if I want to embed my entire database, I would go like this, tools, metadata, and then just go embed to IPTC, embed keywords to IPTC. And it would be done for all those images. Oh yeah, so a really big point. Everything for our AI keywords, 100% local. Nothing is getting sent to if you don't have an internet connection, this is 100% going to work. Everything is done completely locally on your machine. Your image privacy is your image privacy. We do not send any of this externally. It just stays to your local machine. which I think is a really big advantage over. There is online services that does this, like with Google and stuff, but you're sending them your photos, you're giving them the opportunity to look at your photos, which me personally, I don't really care for. So I'm really happy to say, like, everything about the AI keywords, 100% local. We don't care. You get it stays locally for you. We run the AI keywords there, and then that is that's that. Okay, so I think I am running out of time here. I answered a few questions. I'm going to try and seamlessly send this to Tony and have him do the cool editing features for you guys. So stop sharing. Participants.
Thanks, Dan. That was amazing.
Sweet. Rodrigo, can you give it? I'm just trying to. Yeah,
I can do it. No worries.
Yeah, I'm having a little problem finding Tony here.
I'll just reclaim as a host, and I'll find Tony. Okay. And Tony, I will make you the host.
Okay, hopefully everyone can hear me right now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, let me share my screen. All right, so I'm Tony. I've been working at ACD Systems for 24 years, which I just realized is half my life, which is kind of crazy. I work mostly on the image editing side of things, so I'm going to show you the new features in edit and develop mode today. So I'll start with edit mode. One of my favorite features that went into last year's version was face edit. A lot of people seem to like it. It's a lot of fun to use. It's one of my favorite things to develop and use. One thing people seem to really like was this eye direction control. Previously, I had only done horizontal controls. I don't know why I didn't do vertical, but I did add in the vertical. So you can you can make your images look at you or look away, or anyways, it's a fun tool to play with. A more valuable addition we've made, I think, is this skin group. We have smoothing wrinkles, which we had in the previous version, but we've now grouped them in the skin group here. But now we have skin smoothing and glow. So a lot of people were wondering why we didn't have this before, which is obviously very useful in a face editor. So you can smooth your skin and make it glow. We do have a skin tune control outside of the face editor, but it doesn't target the face. So in this case, it would have also got this person in the background there. It would have been affecting those skin tones. But in the face editor, it's guaranteed to be localized right in the face. And if you've never played with the face editor before, I recommend it. It's there's about 40 controls in here, and it's just fun to use. So that's new face editor tools. A lot of the other stuff I'm going to talk about is AI based. This is our AI actions panel up here. So we have select subject, select sky, and these other things. The new one in here is select background. So on an image like this, with one click, the AI will make a selection of the background. You can see it is selecting everything except the kids. So I could then use that to add an adjustment layer or run any filter I want on that selection. So just an obvious progression, select subject. We should also have select background, and now we got it. Next thing I'm going to show you is I'll show you in an image like this. If I run select subject on this, the AI will do its best, but there's so much going on in this image that who knows what it's going to pick. And it ended up picking kind of some random stuff and really didn't do a good job. And in the previous version, I mean, the AI, you get one shot, and if you don't like what it did, you kind of have to do it manually. So to address that, we added this new AI object selection tool up here in the toolbar. So if I just click that, say I want to get the turtle here, I just draw a loose lasso style selection around it, and it's selected just the turtle. If I want the cow, just go loosely around it. I get the cow. There's some options up here. So right now it's in addition mode. So every time I select something new, it's going to add to my selection. I could also do subtract, and by default, it's just going to pick, it'll replace whatever I got. So there I just selected the house. So in an image with, multiple people, if you just want one person selected, select subject would have normally selected them all. Now you can get to pick who gets selected. So that really, you get the same quality of selection, and you just get to target it to exactly what you want. So that's object selection. Another brand new feature here we got is sky replacement. So in our AI group, we have sky replacement here. I'll just click on that and it's going to open the sky replacement panel. First thing it does is find the sky, and then once it's found it, it replaces the sky with any of the new skies up here. We got some categories here. Right now, we only have a few images that are included with ACDSee. We're going to add a bunch more. So we only have, I think there's 9 right now, but there should be a lot more coming by the time we release. If you don't like the images we provide, then we will, if we go down to custom here, this button here will let you load whatever image you want. So if you got some really good sky images, you can use them in this tool. There's controls down here to let you position horizontally and vertically. You can scale it up or down. There's some mask refinement if the selection isn't great on the edges. In this case, it looks pretty good to me, but there are some refinement options here. You can set how transparent or you want the sky to be. You can do a few simple adjustments, tint and temperature and brightness. You also got some foreground adjustment options, which are used to kind of match the foreground with the sky in the case where it looks fake. In this case, I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to use a different image here just to show you how reflections work. So in an image like this, the sky in this pool of water is, obviously you can see it's being reflected. So if I pick an image like that, it kind of looks unnatural that it's not also showing in the water. So by checking this reflections box here, I'm enabling the reflection. So the AI is going to find the reflection, put it down there, and then you can use this slider to line it up. So now you can see that bright cloud there is being reflected in the water. And you can adjust how strong or weak that reflection is showing up. So in the end, that looks pretty realistic to me. When I hit done, by default, it's just going to modify my image and apply all this to it. But we also have this output as layers option here. So if I check that and hit done, I get back to the main screen here, and you can see that there's my original image in that layer. This layer is a reflection. It's basically the upside down sky with a reflection mask. And then this layer has the sky with the sky mask. So I can then add, I could add a curves adjustment layer, clip it to just the top layer, and now I can do further modifications to just the sky. So this is the kind of thing we had select sky as an AI option before, so you could make a selection. You could do all this manually, which would take a lot of work. Now we got it all conveniently put into one tool, so you can do this in seconds, which is be fun to use. Okay, I got a non-AI feature here. I'm gonna quickly go back to ACDSee 2023 just to show you the comparison. So let's say I have this image here and I want to do some airbrushing, some dodging and burning or retouching, whatever you want to call it. If I want to darken kind of the area of the lower cheek to make the upper cheek pop out, I think that's a technique people use. I want to brush black onto here. If I do that with just a black brush, it obviously looks terrible. So we have this opacity slider up here, which limits how strong the black is brushed on. So if I do a little brushing there, it goes on lighter, but you can see as I brush, it ends up building up to 100%. So that it makes this airbrush really hard to use for anything, any subtle kind of brushing like this that you might want to do. In 2024, go to the airbrush, you can see we got some new controls up here. So the new slider up here is called flow, and the flow in 2024 is the same thing as the opacity in 2023. So if I lower that down to where it was, I brush it on, and the same thing happens. It ends up building up to way too strong. So in 2024, the opacity is what this essentially is a limit to how much it can build up. So the flow, imagine this was like an airbrush. The flow is how much paint is flying out of the nozzle, and the opacity is a limit on how much can actually build up on the canvas. So now, as I brush, it's going to go on lightly, and it's built up to a level that is about what I want. So there, I've done a lot of brushing, and the before and after you can see is really subtle, which is what you want when it comes to this sort of thing. So that's a big. This is kind of Photoshop style, like the industry standard is to work this way. So now we've got that ability. In addition, we have this new button here for a brush settings dialog, which has a bunch of extra controls on how the brush works. So if I go around this here, you can see my cursor is getting flatter, and I can change the angle of that. So if I wanted to do something along the side of the nose there, I can brush on there, change my angle, do the other side. And you can see I got a subtle shadowing behind the nose in exactly the area that I want. I'm gonna exaggerate. This so I can show these other features here. A lot of this stuff is called jitter, which is sort of randomization. So if I change this, let me reset this. Okay. So now let me get it visible again. So right now my brush, I've increased the spacing so you can see kind of each stamp that goes along. If I increase the size jitter, then the size is going to vary as I brush along. Spacing jitter is going to affect the spacing. Roundness jitter is going to affect how round each one is. So with feathering and normal spacing, this will turn your brush strokes into something could be more natural looking or more random looking, not so uniform and kind of fake looking. If I change the color to something like whoops, I switched tools by accident. If I change the color to something like red, there are some color dynamics. So the hue jitter will change the hue. as I go. Saturation, brightness. So with a little feathering and normal spacing, these become, that's a bit much. You can kind of get a more natural looking brushstroke or something fun if you're making something for a kid's birthday party or something. So just a lot to play with here. So we've basically gone from, oh, and it all works with all the blending modes as well. So I could, apply that with whatever blend mode I want. So I think we've gone from 4 settings to closer to 20 in 2024. So a lot of improvements to the airbrush. Okay, that's it for edit mode. I'm going to switch over to develop mode now. Again, I'm going to switch back to 2023 just to show you the difference we made here. So this is 2023's develop mode. We have all our groupings down the side here of filters. So if I do something like move the exposure, obviously it affects the entire image. If I want to do a selective adjustment, we have our brush, linear gradient, and radial gradient controls up here. So if I pick the brush, it drops down this panel. I have all my filter settings here, and down at the bottom, there's a list of the brushes available. I have 8, and it shows them all. One is active, the other inactive. So if I want to brush on, I'm just going to do a really rough selection here. I don't want to waste everyone's time. I can make a mask and brighten or darken the face. If I want to add a second brush, I click another brush mask here. This is going to be a completely separate mask with its own settings. There I got the tie, and I can darken the tie. And I can jump back and forth between those by clicking on these. If I want to add a gradient, I have to click the gradient up here, which pops up an almost identical looking panel. There's my gradient. If I want a radial gradient, again, I get another panel popping up. I can apply a radial gradient. Now I have to jump between these 3 panels to adjust those settings. So it all works, but there's a lot of buttons showing up here and a lot of jumping around back and forth. So it's not the smoothest experience. Let me show you how we've changed that in 2024. So in 2024, the brushing and gradient buttons are gone. Instead, we've added a new masking panel here. So when I click on this, by default, it's going to ask me what type of mask I want to create. Ignore these ones for now. That's supposed to be a surprise for about 10 minutes. If I want to add a brush, I just click the brush button, and I have a very similar looking panel, and I can just start brushing. So there I've made the same face mask. Now if I want to add a second brush mask, I click this plus button down here, and it's going to let me add whatever type I want. So second brush, I get the tie, darken it. Now if I want to add a gradient, I just click linear gradient, and now I have a gradient. And you can see the gradients showing up in the same grouping as the brush. I want to get that same radial gradient. There it is. So now I can jump between these different mask types all within the same panel. Just going back to 2023 for a sec, you can see when I have a brush selected, I have, there's clear, invert, there's pixel targeting here. In the gradient panel, the same buttons are available in slightly different places. Same with the radial gradient. In 2024, we've moved all those common buttons down here. So there's your, there's invert. There's some new ones here, but clear and pixel targeting. So everything's kind of stable in one place, and you know where to look, no matter what type of mask you're using. Yeah, so that's kind of a GUI redesign. So I think this is a lot easier to figure out for a new user and a lot more streamlined and less clicking and jumping around for experienced users. I undo everything, go back to my masking panel. We now have AI options in develop mode. So if I click AI subject, it's going to make a selection around the subject. And every time I run these AI selections, I'm just blown away by how good they are. I could never, you could give me hours and using the manual tools, I could never make a selection this good. And in develop mode, there was no option to do it other than manually. So just having this in develop mode is a huge new feature, I think. And then obviously we have a background, which is these AI subject and background selections are exactly the same as the ones in edit mode. Same with the sky. Okay, I'm gonna do another subject selection here. Say I want to, let's say I've gone to a lot of work to make a fancy selection here. If I want to do that in the detail tab, previously I would have had to just redo everything. There was no way to move that mask over. Now we have this copy and paste buttons down here. So if I click copy, I can paste it. So this is a duplicate of that mask. If I want to go to the detail tab, I can click paste here. And now I got a copy of that same mask. So I can apply sharpening or blurring or noise removal. This was something that was really requested, the copy and paste capabilities. So we now have that, and you can copy and paste between images. So if you had, if you took a bunch of images on a tripod, you can make one mask and then apply it to all your images. Let's add a linear gradient here. Say I want a darker gradient along the back, but I don't want that applying to the subject as well. And since it's a linear gradient, I can't really do anything to avoid that. We've added a feature called convert to brush mask. So if I click this, the gradient is now a brush, and I can go in and erase areas of that gradient or add to it. Basically just turned it into a brush, and you can do whatever you want with your brush now. We have a duplicate feature. So if I had done a bunch of brushing here, I can now duplicate the mask and apply different settings or modify it from that point on. So with the convert to brush, copy paste, and duplicate, that really can avoid a lot of duplicating work, which you would have had to do in 2023. It lets you do things you couldn't do in 2023. Yeah, so the GUI redesign, those new workflow features, and then of course the AI in develop mode is just a huge new feature. It'd be hard for me to go back to using 2023 after playing with the AI stuff. So that's what we've done on the editing side of things. I guess I'll turn it back to Rodrigo. Or you'll probably have to take it back because I don't know how to give it back. Okay.
Yes. So do you think we have some time for a couple of questions, Tony?
Yeah, for sure.
I'll read the questions to you.
Sure.
So Charles asks, can you use AI select image and then face edit for a picture that has 2 or more individuals in the picture to do just one of the people?
Face edit has always had that ability. So if I go in with an image with multiple faces, Each face I click on gets a separate, its own control. So there I'm increasing the eye size there, click on her, I get a totally separate set of controls. So yes, you can face edit multiple faces.
Perfect. We have another question from Chris, and he asks about the option to adjust feathering in AI selections, how to do that.
In develop mode, there's no way to do that. In edit mode, I do a subject select. We have a refine panel here. So you can shift the edge, add feathering. Yeah. So it's done through there.
Perfect. Barry asks if there will be any plans for a batch cropping feature that could be more specific per photo.
Batch crop. I would have to think about
That's
that.
a hard one.
Yeah. I think you can batch crop. You can create presets in crop. Like you can set, if you want a 4x6 or something like that. So you can do batch cropping with set sizes and ratios of crop, but as far as AI, I'm not sure how AI. Oh, AI. Okay, so yeah, so if AI detects the subject, then you want to crop just that. That's a really good idea. We'll put it on the list.
Amazing. Okay, so I think that's all the questions we have so far. Thank you, Tony. That was awesome.
Thanks.
And so that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you're excited as we are. And thanks, Tony and Dan, for showcasing all of the new features, exciting new features in Ultimate 2024. Just so you know, on our photo film community, we have an upcoming showcase of ACDSee Photo Studio 2024 happening next week on September 6th, where we'll review some of the features we've seen today. And then inside our premium plan of our photo film community, we have a deep dive into Ultimate 2024 that is going to be done by Adam. So yeah, make sure you guys check out the event calendar on our photo film community, because we got a lot of stuff going on and we're really excited to show you. So with that said, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.